We've seen the destruction of the middle class. We've seen the total unemployment numbers shoot through the roof. The only thing that's keeping this thing together and people not in the streets with pitchforks and other things to go after the politicians is one thing, and that's the stimulus money and the hope. Ladies and gentlemen, you must, with all your might, those of you who can't pray, those of you who are shut-ins or elderly or disabled, pray for those who have voices. Pray for us that can make the choices. But we have to understand, ladies and gentlemen, we cannot be like the Lutherans in the churches as the trains carrying the Jews to the Nazi concentration camps where their death and demise is going on. And it's interesting. The average person cannot equate to cause and effect in the United States anymore. I am convinced of that. They cannot see the plan in motion. There is a very difficult, if you will, disconnect between what they're telling us. And I want to share something. Listen, we don't recognize the time of our visitation. When God visits his people, I know there are Christians out there, evangelicals, I'm going to be for great revival. I believe that. But amidst the greatest persecution in the history of humanity, so much so that the only way Jesus could define it was to say there's never been a time like it nor would be again, and except the days be short. That's not a soliloquy. That's not just a statement they're just trying to scare me. If you're scared, go change your diapers. While you're changing your diapers, ask the Lord to give you boldness, the boldness of a lion. Ask God to give you something so transformative in your spirit that you'll go on. I'm telling you this, Doug, I have no time for weak-kneed pastors. I have no time for the religious. I have time for the realists. King David said, now listen to this word, who is this uncircumcised Philistine that defies? That's what he's saying, defies. That's what some of the translates, the living God. Goliath was mocking his God. David, little shepherd boy, not a warrior by training. He was a shepherd, but he had to watch the sheep, and he had to keep the predators away. In this pulpit world, they invite the predators into the pulpits. I want to say this, and listen, I don't care who doesn't like what I say. I don't. Because I'm fighting for your lives even if you don't even care enough about your own lives. Inside America's secretive $2 billion research lab, collecting fingerprints from Facebook. Also, ladies and gentlemen, remember you had to have your fingerprint on some iPhones? I don't have one. Hacking smartwatches. Hacking all of those lovely little, what are they called, health trackers that even keep track of your heartbeat, your respiration.
Fitbit.
That's some of the most secret government bases in the world were found because the guys who were running inside the bases to keep track of everything, they didn't realize, hey, the people that invented those all have spyware. Nothing that plugs in, that's run by batteries, including little Jilly's doll, doesn't have spyware. Go ahead, Doug.
No, I just want to tell you this, and you can confirm this with Eric and anyone who asks. My wife's cell phone, we were talking about something, and Steve, it'd be like me talking to you, it'd be like me talking to her about something so obscure, something that I'll just say the word dinosaur, okay? Which we got no reason. I would have no reason to say dinosaur, right? No reason to talk about dinosaurs with her, nothing. Anyway, 5 minutes later, I walked into my office in my home. Caller ID, dinosaur, okay, with a number that was spoof number. So you're absolutely right in what you're saying. This is all, I mean, we are encumbered now by a surveillance state. I guess, I don't know if that made sense, but it was almost to remind me we're listening. Does that make sense?
Well, yeah, it does make sense, because let me just read the first paragraph on the Forbes article, and it's posted. I can email it to Eric, too, while we're on the air. But MITRE Corporation runs some of the U.S. government's most hush-hush science and tech labs. A cloak and dagger R&D shop might just be the most important organization you've never heard of. Whether it's an invisible Aston Martin or an exploding pen, whenever James Bond needs a high-tech edge, he heads right for Q. and a secretive MI6 lab. In the real world, American agents often rely on a less clandestine but far better funded group, armed with 8,000 employees and an annual budget of between $1 and $2 billion of taxpayers' money. MITRE Corporation, a government-linked skunk works, has been making bleeding-edge breakthroughs through U.S. agencies for more than 6 decades. Well, Doug, when Ancestors23.com or whatever those genetic labs that came out where you could find your ancestors, maybe there's a couple of, maybe I'm combining their names. The first thing I told my listening audience, and this was years ago, and I think we mentioned it too on your program, do you know what they're doing with that? Well, they promised they'll never sell it. 23andMe, and Ancestry.com, two separate things. I don't know if people understand this, but your entire being, you can be homeless, you can be on the street, you can be without, just barely making it. But one thing you have that's more important to them than whether you live or die is your genetics. So I warned, and listen, this isn't about me being right, but it came out that 1 or 2 of those people have been selling the data and just got bought out for huge money, ladies and gentlemen, huge, billions of dollars. So what are they looking for, and why are they so concerned? I hope everybody understands, even in this article, Doug, even some thermometers, the infrared thermometers, go directly to DHS. Every time you're monitored and a CD19 test is administered, no matter which way it comes out, it goes into the database. Things you think are harmless are no longer. You got a TV on your fridge? Shoot the TV on your fridge and enjoy the meal. If you've got certain smart TVs, I don't have a smart TV. Actually, I'm too dumb a guy to have a smart TV. Thank God you got Eric. The bottom line is that they were spying on you and your intimacy. They're spying. And Doug, one of the things that was funny, I said pretty soon, and I said this on your show, and maybe you had a hard time believing it. I said pretty soon, men will be standing at urinals. I'm not trying to be, anything other than scientific. And their urine is going to be tested for substances and everything else. They'll do the same thing on toilets. Lo and behold, a company has invented smart toilets, and the issue I raised then is absolutely in motion. Now, what is it? What is it so important to these devils that even your genetic structure is important? You want to answer that, Doug? Or do you want me to just go right into my tirade?
No, please, keep going.
Ladies and gentlemen, each one of us created the image and likeness of the living God. If we are not hybrids, are a unique variant in the universe. They can say that they've got us all tight by this, that, or the other thing. If they did, they wouldn't be going to the expense. Not only are they looking for the God gene, not only are they looking to destroy the part of our humanity that identifies with God, at every stage of our existence, they want to know everything about our being until we no longer serve a useful purpose. I said when the human genome the project started, and I was writing on genetic engineering back in those days in Genetic Armageddon, I said, let me just tell you the bottom line. It's way more important than just the human genome and mapping human DNA. It's about locating the genetic hybridized genes of the fallen angels and their earthly mothers. You go to the book of Enoch, and you look in the book of Enoch, and it tells about the fallen angels pleading with God not to kill their children. When a giant died, or the composite hybrid died, and they die, that combination spirit becomes a disembodied spirit. I think in the Greek, this goes back, but daimonizomai means demonized, under the influence of daemon, D-A-E-M-O-N. And that's what they wanted, because Doug, their plan is, they know the gates of hell are going to open. Here's something that'll blow everybody's mind. They know the gates of hell are going to open, but guess what? It is in the fallen angel's heart, if they still have one, mind and abilities to bring back a body. And understand this, we'll call it this, a hybridized clone for the disembodied spirit to be reunited as the fallen angels come to earth for homecoming. Does that make sense?
It does make perfect sense, sir. Yes.
It's mind-boggling. So when people used to say to me, hold on, Matt, I'm biting my tongue. All the things they have said to me, this is all irrelevant. You're a fake Christian. You're not telling us what is. Oh, yeah? From the very beginning of Genesis, the entire book of Genesis lays out human history in the future. The Genesis 6, the sons of God saw that the daughters of earth were fair. You go to Joshua and Caleb, Numbers 13:33. That's interesting, too. 3:33, Numbers 13:33. And they're talking that the giants were so big that Joshua and Caleb and the spies saw themselves as grasshoppers in their own eyes. In essence, they're going, those guys are big dudes. We're like grasshoppers. So after that, in Numbers 13:33, it's like the giants that were born were called Rephaim. And Doug, you were the one that helped me to word that in my newest introduction to Genesis 6 Giants, Volume 2. Volume 1 does not exist anymore. But Volume 2, when I say that, for sale, Volume 2 is critical because, again, that's the most updated version. So there's nothing new under the sun. That which has been will be again. Go back to these corporations. They want to make sure that they don't miss anything. In essence, they don't want one stone left unturned in our life, in our genome, in our thoughts, in our relationships, in our appetites. They want to know anything. And I guess right now, the ancients used to read chicken entrails, and these guys are monitoring sewage. And literally, they really are.